The Alabama movement inside Alabama's Department of Corrections. Continuing with my video series as we profile the living conditions, the overcrowdedness, the unsanitary conditions that we live in, the contradictions in sentencing and parole, and just showing how the system is so arbitrary. Once we get inside a prison, whether you're a first offender or whatever your circumstances are, you're inside a system that you never know when you're going home. We've already profiled how the parole board works. Guys are coming to prison doing extended periods of time. The only thing that's mandatory is that they go to work. They got to work a state job, and it's all about free labor. Today I got someone with me. I wanted to share his story because he's going to give you an example of what it's like doing time in prison, having a sentence, and not knowing when you're going to go home. That's not fair. This man came into the system and he had the incentive to get out, and he should be afforded an opportunity to earn his freedom. I don't know if he committed the crime that he's in prison for or not, and that's really not my concern. What I'm concerned about is what about the time that he spends while he's in the Department of Corrections? How is he going to be prepared to go back out into the street, after serving his sentence? What type of programs do they have in place, and what kind of assistance this man going to need? I'm introducing Michael Mays to y'all today. This is my old cell partner right here. We used to live next door in 9 cell for quite some time. You were just telling me what your name is, where you from, how much time you got, and whatnot. Won't want to hear nothing about no Kobe Bryant, though. No Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, my name is Michael Mays. I've been in office since 1994, 20 years now. And
what your charge was?
Robbery and receiving stolen property, which was robbery took place, which the gun was stolen.
Okay, so okay. I'm glad you said that. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to point that out. You were charged with first-degree armed robbery because what did you break into, residential area or store?
I was a robbery took place in the project.
Okay, a robbery took place in the project, and you took the gun from someone?
Yeah.
So he was charged with armed robbery because he robbed someone who had a gun, and he took the gun from him. And he got first degree on. He didn't go to the robbery with a gun. He ended up in a robbery where a gun was taken. So that's what we're trying to show. Now go ahead and finish telling us about that.
Yeah. I've been incarcerated now 19 and a half years.
How old were you when this occurred?
I was 18.
Okay.
Turning 19. So now, as of next year, November, I've been 20 whole years. I've been denied parole 3 times. 5.
So you originally had a 5-year setup. They denied that and set you off 5 more years. Then in 5 more years, they denied that and set you off 5 more years. Now, funny thing just happened. You say you done did 19 years on 20. You EOS next year. You just went up for parole. When the last time you went up for parole? When? 2010. And they set you off how long? EOS. You know what I'm saying? So this is a man with 20 years. Do you have a GED, skill or trade or anything? You got your GED? You got a trade?
I got a trade.
How many programs have you completed?
1.
1 program. So there's no incentive for you to do anything else. You've already got a skill trade, you got a trade, GED, and you've done 19 years, and you just went up for parole in 2010, and they telling you that you don't have no more shot with us. But you were here for an armed robbery where you went without a weapon and took a weapon from someone, and they charged you as if you actually went to the robbery with a gun in hand. What does that make you feel? When you think about your situation, how you end up in prison? How do you feel about that?
Well, the way I feel about it is a man. I know that 20 years is a lot of time, but a man doing 20 on something like that is not. It just, I don't know. It making you do 20 years straight without just no slack.
First offender? It was your first felony. So your first felony, they took your whole life away from you. You were 18 when you got 20 years sentence, and now you done did 19 years, approaching 20 in prison. You have any children?
No.
Never had a chance. You ever been married?
No.
When you came off the street, what were you running the street or just? So you never even owned a house, started a family. Really, the gap between leaving your mom's house and establishing yourself it still hasn't occurred. Okay, so what about reentry? How are they preparing you for someone who did 20 years going back into the street? You in a maximum security prison. You ain't even at work release. You done did 20 years. When you came to prison, there was no Google, there was no Microsoft, there was no cell phone, none of these things. And yet here it is, they get to put you back out into a world that you don't even have no understanding of. And you know how much money you going to have with you, right? What the state going to give you when you leave? How much?
$10.
$10. So what is he going to do? Do you want him? You talk about the recidivism rate, but what do you expect from him? What can he do? You ain't allowing him to talk to no employers. You ain't allowing him to get to a community-based facility where he can integrate back into society. You ever worked on a computer? Man ain't never worked on a computer. So what he gonna do when his check is deposited onto a debit card? You ever had a debit card? So how you gonna know how to retrieve it? So even if he go to work, if he get a job where he gets a direct deposit, he ain't never had a bank account, never had a debit card. But this is the product of what the DOC has to offer, and this is what we reject. You know, this is what Free Alabama movement is in existence for, because this is not enough. There's an 18-year-old child that came to prison and been in here 20 years, first offense, no armed weapon. You didn't shoot the guy, nobody was hurt, or none of that, and yet he's a black man that's been done 20 years in prison. And we can't make no sense of it. And then let's talk about the living conditions. Just explain how you live, you know. 2-man cells, rats and roaches running everywhere, and you see this all day, every day.
Rust everywhere. Hey.
So what you gonna do? Just tell them what you gonna do when you get out there, hood.
Well, my understanding, working is a must.
True.
Working is a must. You know, by me having mom and father gone, so now really it's hard on me now, so.
Your options limited, man. Man, mother and father done passed away since he been in prison. You know, he was 18 when he came out.
Put this on pause.
Now he done lost mom and dad. So, what we gonna do? What is the DOC gonna do for Hood Rich? What is they gonna do for Michael Mays? Because he just told you he don't really know what to do. He going to a world he don't even understand. So what's the solution to this problem? The solution is to improve on the way that the DOC operates. And they don't have the funding to do that because the money that's available to them for that is being used to incarcerate more and more people instead of educating people, instead of providing rehabilitation, instead of providing reentry preparedness for someone like Mr. Mays right here, you know, because this is what he needs. He needs to know what he's getting himself into when he gets out of prison, because as of right now, he don't know. And the DOC doesn't have a system in place. You know, I wish you the best, Hood, man. I don't even know, you know, we don't have the answers for them problems because we haven't reached that point yet. But we know that a person 18 years old and did 20 years in prison, getting out, no mother and father, never had your own place, never had a lease on an apartment, never bought a new car, don't have no children, you don't have any ties or connection to the street, and you know this is where they sending you to. Do you have friends and family in the Birmingham area? Yeah. So you're going to have some people that you know you're going to be able to, but you're going to be a burden on them for real, you know, truth be told. But if you was at work release as part of your reentry preparedness, then you'll be building up a little savings account. You'll be finding where you're going to stay. You'll be finding out where you're going to get a job at. You'll be learning about the banking system, credit and debit card. You'll be getting the hands-on practical things that you need to be successful when you get out there. But they're not offering that. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we demanding through Free Alabama movement. And that's what Free Alabama movement is all about. You know, we trying to get guys educated in prison, rehabilitated in prison, and sent back to the street. When you caught your crime, why did you commit your crime?
Really, no guidance. You know what I'm saying? Just raised up in
the street. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Watching other guys, you know, do this and do that. You know what I'm saying? Rob here, sell dope here. Take this down, take that down, take this down. This is the environment I came up in.
Take that cigarette out. We gotta put this video man out for him, and he got a cigarette. You know. But so what have you learned from this incarceration, and what do you expect to be able to offer when you go back to the community, young guys, 17, 18 years that's on the same path? Because the system is still in place for them to come to prison and do 20 years. So what type of guidance do you have to offer to them?
Oh, like, whatever it is, if you can go to school, go, or if you work or whatever, prison is not the place for anybody. The living condition, the food, how you got to pay for this, pay for that now, so it's not the place, not if you want to just be free. I suggest you can be free.
Now, when you just mentioned something, I want to ask you about that. You know, you talked about your parents being deceased, not really having any, you don't have a network of people helping you. So when you don't have anyone out there to help you, on the one hand, and you in the Department of Corrections and all their jobs that you work are free labor, you're not going to get paid anything on the other hand. Just talk to how difficult it is just to survive in an environment like that. When you can't go to the store and buy nothing, but when you go to the chow hall, the food is, you know, you can't eat it. And when you get sick, there's nowhere to go. The health care is not going to be there. So tell us how the survival, the process that you go through just trying to stay alive.
Well, in him, there's a lot not going through. Health is really not aware. Whatever happens, like, something else, you hurt yourself, do something, you got to pay for that. With the state, it'll just
put you in debt.
In debt.
Anytime I send you something.
Yeah, you got the state got to get that. So the cost of living is
pretty high in prison, man.
Just to be in prison.
Well, man, you know, I appreciate you taking your time, man, sharing this story with us and stuff, you know, because we trying to get people to see that the parole board ain't hitting on nothing. Inside the system ain't hitting on nothing. A man who want to get out of prison, want to do the right thing, he can't do it. You can't go enroll in this program and that program. You can't go get anger management, crime bill, criminal thinking, GED, skill of trade, life skills, and then know that when your parole day come up that you finna be paroled out. You still got to try to go up and make parole, even though you done did the things that you know you need to do to correct yourself so that when you get back out there, you can be productive. Well, all right, Hood, man, your time almost up, bro. We're going to be looking for you out there. We want you to support us when you get out there. Support the movement, man, and we're going to support you. Hopefully by the time this video is released and word gets out, you know, our impact on what we're trying to do will already be felt, and some guys like you will be kicked out of the system because we're not going to stop until they reduce the population down to its design capacity. You know, it's supposed to be one man in each cell, and that's what we're pushing for. You know, that's what we're standing for. That's what we're moving for. That's what we're marching for, and we hope that it be guys like you, you know, serve your time, man. You done did enough, you know. If they want to say you're not prepared, then it's their fault. You know, they done had 19 years to give you the things you need, and they still don't have them. So it's not our problem. It's not our fault. It's their problem because they're the ones at fault. Free Alabama movement.